eyesight is exceedingly bad. Teheb Tyn you cannot fail to see." Tyndall's eyesight was exceedingly good. He followed that pointing finger, past the pillar that supported the roof of the patio, past the first row of alien green plants, past the second and third rows, to the clearing, to the little patch of sunlight, to the thing lying there, that monstrous, misshapen bug, the priestess Lhyreesa. Tyndall felt a pounding, skull-shattering madness closing in on him. It was a joke, of course. No, not a joke. A dream, then. No, not that either. In only a few split seconds it happened. Tyndall had leapt the rail around the patio and was streaking through the grove, heading for the outer boundary. The city! If he could get out of the grove, there would be places to hide in the city. Narrow streets, empty cellars, dim alleys. They'd never find him there. Run now, run, before he was overtaken. But he was not being pursued. Bheel stood still on the patio, transfixed with horror. He heard the Arrillian terrified cry, "Deb! Tyndall!" And then a rope shot out and grabbed him by the ankles. Not a rope, really, a green something. And there were others around his arms, his chest, his hips, wrapping him in their sticky green embrace. The Guardians. He tried to cry out, but one of the verdant fronds enveloped his throat so tightly he couldn't utter a sound. The innocent green things of the grove were vigilant guardians indeed. They seemed to be merely holding him immobile, but Tyndall realized with sick horror that their pressure was increasing, so little at a time, but so steadily. And something was happening out there in the sunlight, too. The creature had convulsively grasped the branch of a bush and was clinging weakly to it, great tremors racking its body. It seemed to be struggling, suffering, dying, even as he was. In his agony, Tyndall laughed. "A time! A time!" The voice came from the patio. Tyndall saw Bheel throw himself face down on the floor, covering his eyes with his hands. He heard the cry echoed within the palace, and then, like a mighty roar, outside in the city. And then there was silence, silence broken only by the sound of his own breathing as he dragged his tortured lungs across his shattered ribs. He saw the bug give a great heave, and then it seemed to split open, the entire skin splitting in a dozen places, and a hand, reached from within that dying hulk and grasped the bush to which it clung. A white, slender hand on a fragile wrist, and then the arm was free, a woman's arm, a beautiful arm. Tyndall began dimly, and too late, to understand. A leg kicked free, the slender ankle, the amply fleshed thigh. Tyndall clung to consciousness doggedly. The Guardian was crushing the last dregs of life out of him now, and even the pain seemed to recede. His mind was very, very clear. So that was it. A word once heard in a long-forgotten classroom, and then the scientists of the expedition. Metamorphosis. He had meant to ask them what. But he remembered now what it meant. A passing from one form into another. Had he failed a biology test once because he didn't know what metamorphosis meant? Dimly, he saw. The last thing Tyndall ever saw was the priestess Lhyreesa as she stepped out of the empty hulk, kicking it away with a disdainful toe. Breathless from her ordeal, she sank to the grass, her breasts heaving with exhaustion. She sat there for a few minutes in the sunlight. Then she tossed her head and spread her long raven hair out on her shoulders, the better to dry it in the waning sun. End of Grove of the Unborn by Lynn Venable.